So, have you ever seen something so cool you just needed to buy it? I just had two of those moments. How's it going, people? This is Frost460, and these are Warhammer 40k Space Marines. For those unfamiliar, Warhammer 40k is a science fiction wargame hailing from the land of tea and biscuits. The setting is all about the grim dark world of the Imperium of Man, a brutal dictatorship that worships the corpse of their emperor and fights tooth and nail to survive in a galaxy full of aliens, mutants, and demons. Mankind's last line of defense are the Space Marines, the angels of the Emperor himself, who definitely aren't morally ambiguous, overzealous, crusading super soldiers with god complexes. The wargame itself is based around miniatures like these, which you can build yourself and can paint however you want. I happen to be a massive fan of this series, and was absolutely stoked when my friend found these chonkers at his local game store. I immediately bought them on Amazon, respectively. Mr. Skullface is a Reaver, and the heavy weapons dude is called a Hellblaster. Right off the bat, these guys are properly big and bulked out. These boys are actually shorter than a NICA build Bionicle. But unless you compare them directly, you really wouldn't think so. The Reaver looks gnarly and ready for a fight, and this Hellblaster is just imposing. I don't think I can get across just how well they nailed this transition from 10-foot tall super soldier to action figure. These guys look like the animation models. The sculpts blow up a lot of small details from miniatures into a larger figure, and they include some small details around the heads, weapons, and pouches that you really can't include on such a small model. They've even included some battle damage on the shins of the Hellblaster, which I thought was a really nice touch. Now, obviously, these guys don't have any paint, which is a bit odd, especially since Space Marines are known for their distinctive chapter colors. But that's because these are artist-proof models, which are specifically made for you to paint them up yourself, which is what I intend to do. These figures do have painted versions, though, which look very nice based on the product shots, although the colors do look a bit candyish, especially on the Hellblaster. For models this bulky, it's hard to get in good poseability in certain areas, but these guys strike a good balance. Both figures have separate head and neck swivels, giving them a full 360-degree spin and a slight tilt up and down. The shoulders were the main area where I thought we were going to have issues, but they actually have double joints on their pauldrons. So with two balls, it allows them to move back and forth so that the arms can move freely and lift sideways about that high. Still not fantastic, but better than I was expecting. The Reaver can do a bit more than the Hellblaster, but even with that, it's still limited. The arms have double hinges on the elbow, swivels on the upper arm and wrist, and a ratchet joint on the hand for some slight poseability. They have kung fu hands, so while they're great at holding weapons, don't expect them to do anything fancy. Both torsos have a ball joint for the chest and a waist swivel, although the swivel on my Hellblaster is really tight. The legs can extend pretty far forwards, but only go about here sideways, which makes sense. The knees are also double jointed, but the top hinge is a lot tighter than the bottom one on both models, making for some pretty weird hinging when you realize that the bottom one is far less well proportioned and hidden. The Hellblaster's ankles are on a strict back and forth hinge, while the Reaver gets rock, swivel, and flex for his toes. And he even has a bit of tibia-fibia shifting. Overall, it's not standout, but it's pretty usable and respectable for what these models are. I like what they did with the pauldrons, but they should have gone a bit further, especially if they expect Marines to go and fight in glorious melee combat! For accessories, these guys, they don't have much. The Reaver comes with a combat knife and a grappling hook, both of which feel well made. The hook is solid and the knife is a bit flexible, but never feels like it's about to break, which is really good. There's a sheath for it on the back, which has a hollow section to let it slide in easier, but also then shows up when you look at the model front on. It'd be a lot more obvious if this was painted, but I'm planning to anyway, so it's going to be a massive issue for me. The Hellblaster's plasma gun is just a large chunk of plastic, feeling a bit malleable but pretty solid. I love the look of this thing and how accurately it translates from the miniatures. Both of them also come with a small stand which pegs into their feet. But honestly, it's not even a real thing. It's just there if you want to get a couple poses and help with stability. So, what are my final thoughts on these? Well, I like them. I dig them. The Reaver I would give a 7 out of 10 just because it's a bit more posable, and the Hellblaster gets a 6. I like them both. Whether or not you get them is probably going to come down to how cool you think they look, painted or unpainted, and your level of investment in the franchise. The Reaver costs about 25 bucks on Amazon, but the Hellblaster is from an older wave, so it's already coming up on 40. I would say if you want a better bang for your buck, the Reaver is the choice to make, but I like the Hellblaster more. It's just overpriced.